Welcome to Free Thinking Through the Fourth Turning. My name's Sasha Stone. And this is Why Trump is Polling Ahead. Frank Luntz asked, so let's answer it. For podcast listeners, a tweet by Frank Luntz. Quote, why do you think Donald Trump is doing so well in polls despite being the only president who was impeached twice and indicted for 85 separate criminal felonies? Do you think it's because Trump is so awesome or because Biden is so awful? 70% say because Biden is awful. 30% say Trump is awesome. Unlike most people in the media, Frank Luntz spends a lot of time talking to regular folks. He and Nate Silver can see the objective reality of where we are now. Yet they have a hard time explaining that to people on the left. To most of them, they've been fighting a war against Trump and MAGA since 2016. It's unthinkable that anyone in America, let alone a majority, would not feel the same way. Here is how the polls are lining up on Real Clear Politics. The RCP poll average, Trump 2.0. Five-way RCP average, Trump 2.3. Top battlegrounds, Trump 3.6. Why is Trump polling ahead? Let's get into it. The people in power now can't solve the problem. They are the problem. No one lays it out better than RFK Jr., who has also been demonized and discredited by them for daring to run against Biden. RFK Jr. articulates what so many Americans have felt for a long time now. It's 9 minutes, but it's well worth a listen. Here's just a short bit of it.
I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm running as an independent candidate for President of the United States. I grew up in an America that seemed to have achieved its promise as an exemplary nation. Modern democracy had spread from one nation, ours, in 1776 to 6 by 1865 and to 190 by the 1960s. We had become the city on the hill. We were a moral authority around the globe. Our government, institutions, our Congress, the court, the regulatory agencies, and even the American press were renowned for their integrity, and they were revered worldwide. Other nations wanted our American leadership. They knew the difference between leadership and bullying, which is something our current leaders seem to have forgotten. We were the template of liberty, proof that for a country to thrive, its people must be free. Free to speak, free to worship, free to build great companies, free to start small businesses. We were the freest country in the world, and by no coincidence, also the most prosperous. Working Americans could provide for their families on a single salary. They could buy a home, raise a family, save for retirement without mountains of debt. We made the best music, we made the best movies, we made gold standard automobiles that everybody in the world wanted. We made blue jeans, we reconstructed Europe, we put men on the moon. We have the world's healthiest, best educated children. Our productivity, ingenuity, our can-do spirit were the envy of the world. We had confidence in our strength, our capacity, and the limitless potential of our country. Yeah, we had serious racial and environmental problems, but in the heady days of my youth, the environmental movement and the civil rights movement were picking up steam. My father and some of his allies were fighting to eliminate the last pockets of hunger in Appalachia and the Mississippi Delta and on the Indian reservations. And we became for the first time a true constitutional democracy in this country with all races voting and holding political office. Other countries aspired to be like us, and our children grew up proud of their passport, proud of their flag. My uncle, President Kennedy, left us a legacy of peace and the hope of ending the arms race and winding down the Cold War. Those were the traditions of freedom, prosperity, and peace that my father, my uncle, and Martin Luther King Jr. were striving to protect and advance. In the half-century since their deaths, we've lost touch with that vision for our country.
In 2016, half of America sent a clear message to the people at the top. They were unhappy enough to send an outsider, a reality star, and a real estate mogul to the White House. That should have been the moment the ruling class had enough self-awareness to address the problem. Instead, they went to war on Trump and MAGA, demonizing them as racists and white supremacists, treating them like enemy combatants at best and human garbage at worst. That was the first clue that the Democrats and the left had become completely disconnected from reality. Do people in the bubble see it that way? No, they don't. Trust me, I used to live in the bubble. Their only problem is that Trump and MAGA even exist. If they can just get rid of them, one last cancel, They can have their woketopia back. That's the fight. It has less to do with Trump and more to do with the change Americans want. To find our way back to sanity after the country has been overtaken by what appears to be a fundamentalist cult. Like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, Joe Biden has existed in the upper class's rarefied air for too long. If you can't even see the problem, how can you fix it? If you already understand all of that, you're halfway there. Here are some other reasons why Trump is still pulling ahead. The pendulum swing. We like presidents to serve 2 terms. If the economy is bad, we vote them out after 1 term. They keep telling us Biden's economy is going great, but that feels like gaslighting to most Americans. They remember Trump's economy. If there was ever a reason for a pendulum swing, it's that. But there are other reasons. Everything feels like it's collapsing. A media people can't trust anymore. Movies people can't watch anymore. Even science and basic biology have flown the coop. It's all to serve some ideology that is starting to feel more like totalitarianism than democracy. In 2016, the Democrats had held the presidency for 2 terms. Holding on to a 3rd would have been nearly impossible. The only president who has managed it since FDR was Ronald Reagan. Obama should have picked Joe, but he went with Hillary, which upended the pattern and reminded Americans it was time for real change. To make matters worse, in 2020, Biden had nowhere to go except back to the past, to finish what Obama started, pulling America even farther left, exactly where we did not want to go. That Obama has emerged to campaign for Joe this early shows how desperate they are. But that pendulum still wants to swing. All this will do is help kill Obama's legacy. You can't keep selling people something they don't want and expect it to work out. For podcast listeners, a tweet by Kamala Harris, quote, "Everyone should be able to access the health care they need regardless of who they are, where they live, or how much they earn. That is why we will continue using every tool to strengthen the Affordable Care Act," end quote. And a picture of Kamala, Joe, and Barack. Trump sells optimism, Biden sells fear. The version of Trump the media sells is as an angry, evil, frothing tyrant. That's why so many of them call him authoritarian and Hitler-esque. But if you watch Trump's rallies, as I've been doing since 2020, he's like a high school football coach who must inspire the players to go out there and win, even if the odds are against them. And really, that is the main job of the President of the United States, to be a great salesperson who can sell all of us on the can-do American spirit. By contrast, Biden sells nothing but fear. Fear of Trump, fear of MAGA, fear of losing democracy. Who wants a leader who keeps telling the American people one riot at the Capitol meant the end of America? Really? I mean, I thought we were the most powerful country in the world, no? But that's all Biden has. It's a negative rather than a positive. After 8 years, why would that be appealing to most Americans? They want to feel better, not worse. Trump projects strength, Biden projects weakness. Bringing Obama out might seem like a good strategy to remind Americans that, don't worry, Obama's got this. He isn't going anywhere. But it also serves to highlight Biden's weaknesses. Americans felt safer under Trump, maybe not at the time, but in retrospect they realized they didn't know what they had. Trump was an unpredictable, intimidating force, which meant that world dictators did not want to mess with him, and maybe that's why it seems like the entire world order has been upended, and war is breaking out everywhere. Even ISIS is back. It's funny watching the media try to pretend Trump is nice to dictators because he is one. Trump is an alpha male, Biden is a beta. Sorry, but it's true. One of the things that has impressed me most about Trump is how tough he is. I don't think I've ever seen anyone who can take as much as he has and remain chipper and optimistic. Yes, Trump says offensive things, and he can be a bully, and often hits below the belt. But that's what you want if you're worried about foreign adversaries. You want a bulldog. You want someone that tough. By contrast, Biden is easily triggered into anger, and when he isn't triggered, he laughs off any questions by reporters. The last thing he projects is strength. Trump is a leader, Biden is not. Trump has been the boss his entire life. Biden has been in Congress his entire life and only knows how to be a party line participant. Trump is used to delegating, hiring, giving directions to people, and leading projects. Biden is used to being a senator, a team player who follows the leader. Trump would not be a good senator because he's not a team player. He only knows how to lead, and he's good at it. Yes, he was hit with an extraordinary wall of resistance, but that doesn't take away the fact that his gift has always been leadership. Trump sells American exceptionalism. Biden sells American shame. After Biden took power, he set about lecturing all of us about how rotten America is, a white supremacist nation. All of his equity fixes were meant to correct the wrongs of the past. He spends much of his time shaming half the country, calling them extremists and racists. He only hired black women and women of color and people of color and members of the LGBTQIA cult, and then bragged about it, further alienating the silent majority. Everyone can sense a crisis among the nation's men. Yet Biden is perfectly happy with that, it seems. Shame them, marginalize them, and then expect them to vote for you? By contrast, Trump makes it abundantly clear with 4 words on a red hat: "Make America Great Again." Democrats took that as an insult to our god, Obama, but really it means bringing back manufacturing, bringing back patriotism, making America first. Trump has never wavered from his desire to see America come out on top. And yes, American exceptionalism means telling Americans how great they are and how great this country is, or used to be and can be again. That's the whole point of it, and selling it is key to any presidency. It's also the thing that brings Americans together, or used to. It's the fragile thread that ties each of us to each other. Trump likes to win. He wants America to win. That's something his voters notice. For many of them, all they have is a love of country. They're patriots, and they feel lucky to be born in the greatest country in the world. They want a leader who feels the same way. Trump knows this country, Biden does not. Even before I left the Democratic Party in 2020, I drove across the country and saw real America for the first time. I had no idea I was in such an isolated bubble. That bubble is where Biden gets his information. When he attacks Trump, he uses the talking points of the mainstream media, almost all of which are false. Here he is again, bringing Obama back. This is just sad by now.
Movement. So all Americans, not just seniors, pay $35 a month, have a $2,000 cap for prescription drugs. I want to make those $800 ACA savings permanent. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is about the past and serving himself. This is the guy who doesn't care about science and reason. Remember, during the pandemic, Donald Trump told us to inject ourselves with bleach. He said there's nothing to worry about if you do that. Now Trump keeps telling us he's going to terminate the ACA. Think about what that means. It would mean 100 million Americans with pre-existing conditions would lose their health care coverage. It would mean young people would be kicked off their parents' coverage. Tens of millions of Americans would lose health care coverage as a consequence of all that. He wants to get rid of the power of Medicare to negotiate low prescription drug prices, driving up cost of insulin back to $400 instead of $35 for seniors. And Trump recently said Social Security and Medicare, quote, "There's a lot you can do in terms of cutting," end of quote.
You can't run this country if you don't know this country. Trump might have come from the elite ruling class, but he spends enough time with people, traveling from town to town and talking directly to them to speak their language. Biden, a creature of the swamp for his entire life, can't. Americans can now compare Trump's and Biden's 4 years in office. The Democrats got what they wanted in 2020. They had 4 years to prove to Americans that they could do the job better. Trump was finally gone, so great, right? Everything should have gone perfectly after that. Calm to chaos, the adults are back in the room, and happy days are here again. 1 year later, Biden's exit from Afghanistan showed America and the world just how incompetent the man in the White House was, and his approval ratings have never recovered. That X is Afghanistan. For podcast listeners, the Biden job approval rating from Real Clear Politics. That's why Biden pivoted to Trump and made his entire presidency about stopping him. What a waste. For the regime that has now gone to extraordinary, unprecedented, un-American lengths to stop Trump, it must really suck that Biden is still trailing him in the polls. But they have no one to blame but themselves. They've squandered their power, wasted our time, and made this country far worse than it was under Trump. America still wants to turn the page away from the America under Obama. Holding all of us back was a mistake in 2016, in 2020, and will be in 2024. Their mistake was not learning the lesson the first time. That Trump is pulling ahead doesn't necessarily mean he'll win. We all remember the red wave that wasn't in 2022. With Laura Trump and Scott Presler working to boost the GOP's ground game, maybe this time the ending will be different. Like Tom Petty says, even the losers get lucky sometimes. Thanks for listening to my podcast, sashastone.substack.com. And remember, to thine own self be true.
Cigarettes, we stared at the moon. They showed you stars you never could see. It couldn't have been that easy to forget about me. Money time meant nothing, anything seemed real. Kiss like fire, you made me feel like every word you said was meant to be. It couldn't have been that easy to forget about me. Baby, even the losers get lucky sometimes. Sometimes cars park on the overpass, rocks hit the water like broken glass. I should have known right then it was too good to last. God, it's such a drag when you live in the past.